Hello. Now, with Boris facing possible meltdown in his own premiership, but possibly managing to survive, a lot depends on what happens with the questionnaire he's just submitted and whether or not he actually faces a fine, which looks fairly inevitable, and whether he can tough it out. I think there's a growing view that there isn't a natural successor ready to take over. The two people who are most likely at the moment are Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, and Liz Truss has proven publicly that she's basically inept, and Rishi Sunak has taken a bit of a blow because of the £20 cut to benefit, and because he's seen as a person of privilege. Now, there's another reason why I think I hesitate about Rishi Sunak, and that's because he's only been in the job for 2 years. He's one of the people in the present cabinet with the least experience, and he needs a little bit more time. Now, if Boris can buy time, and maybe there's a deal between Boris and Rishi Sunak, that if Rishi supports Boris in the next few months, Boris will in turn reward his loyalty with a sort of blessing for a future bid for the top job. Sunak comes across as intelligent, affable, charming. Certainly as charming and possibly more immediately so than Boris. But he has this problem with the image of privilege. So in the Commons the other day, he was attacked with. I know that it's difficult for someone with financial privilege to really understand what is facing communities like mine. That's very difficult to weather if you don't have a lot of experience. So he's a rich chancellor, and he's the person who cut the £20 to universal credit to benefit. His track record, his track record actually during COVID, of course, is very good with the furlough scheme, but the £20 cut came at the wrong time, and I don't know really whether his standing in the party and in the country is is enough at this point. Certainly, his popularity is higher than that of the Prime Minister, and certainly higher than Priti Patel. I mean, her popularity is probably in the minuses. And he's a modest man, even if he is a man of privilege, even if he lives in a mansion. His father, or his father was a GP, and his grandfather came from a small village in the north of India. He's got a reputation as a workaholic, a sort of Thatcherite workaholic. Fastidious hours, religious, thoughtful, fasting once a week, but as I say, privileged. And and I think cutting back on £20 for the poorest people at a time when he was known to be building a vast private swimming pool complex at his Georgia mansion, this doesn't do him any credit. And and also there are rumours of offshore tax funds in the Cayman Islands, and of course he was a hedge fund manager. So he understands something, and he's seen as somebody who understands the dark arts of finance. Uh, he's been championing fossil fuels, the oil industry, North Sea oil particularly. He's managed to square the circle and claim that this is in the interests of the green agenda. I don't know quite how he managed that, but brilliant. Um, and he was the person responsible for cutting the aid budget, but he seems to have weathered all of this negative information. Seems to be cancelled out by the extraordinary modesty and affability that he projects. as I say, I don't think he has the experience to take on the top job quite at the moment. But I think a Rishi premiership would be something to be welcomed. And to have the first British Asian Prime Minister, to have the first Asian Prime Minister in this country, this would be magnificent. It would send out a very, very strong signal. And I think he would be an excellent leader, but not yet. Not yet. We need time. Boris needs to buy time. I would still like to see people from the back benches coming up. And I think a very good person to challenge him would come from the back benches. There is no one else on the front benches who could possibly measure up to Rishi Sunak.